I'm here with Randy from Steve Jackson Games, and we're going to be talking about Car Wars today. I know you are all super excited about this. I got to play, and you demo Car Wars all the time, right?
And designed and developed.
Co-designed
and co-developed, I should say.
Co-designed, co-developed, and it was so interesting going into this because it's a game that's been very intimidating, and it looks intimidating coming into it, and then it took me one round to figure this out, and it was amazing. Like, I was so excited after playing this game. It got me so pumped up. But I will go ahead and take this to the table, and sorry we're like in the dark today and stuff. Hopefully you guys can see us. We are recording at Fnord Con right now, so this is traveling live. So we're gonna have little cars out here.
All of this, these are all prototype pieces.
Right.
So when you see...
Not final pieces, guys.
When you see the problems on them, know that they're prototype, and they've been played with this weekend, so there's...
Played with very hard.
Yes.
Like, it's been non-stop demos for this. All the tables have been full. There's 8 tables?
There are 6 tables.
6 tables? Okay.
And we did the tutorial tables first, so we pre-built some cars and showed the people how to play.
Right.
But after they had played once, we were able to have all people who played once go build their own cars on another table for a different session if we had open tables.
Which is fun because you get to go through it and you get to kind of learn what you're doing. And the pre-builts were not like super dumbed down or anything. Like, there was stuff on all of the pre-builts that you could do, and it was about learning how to crash into people and how to shoot people and how to set people on fire, like their cars on fire. It was crazy. So there was plenty to do in that little, like, hey, here's the instructions for this game, you know?
They were not optimal cars, but they did have a little bit of almost everything to give people the chance to touch it, especially since we were using it as a full tutorial to let them go do their own thing with minimal intervention. It was helpful. It was very helpful to have those initial builds. Jimmy Bragdon put that initial build together. I don't know if somebody had done it before.
Oh, really?
He was grabbing it, but
he did a good job.
Yeah.
I really like how this has like a sort of almost like X-Wing feel to it with these rulers here, and then using the cars and being able to go up. Oh, you know what I wish we would have brought is the wheel with the pieces on it, the control panel.
Yes.
That would have been lovely.
There'll be a lot of it. Basically, we wanted simple but functional.
Right.
I know a lot of modern miniatures games, especially the pre-painted stuff, their turning keys and their travel stuff is very complicated. It's full of rivets and things like that.
I love this part right here, because if you're going to turn, it's as simple as taking this and then going, okay, this is what I'm going to turn, and then it's going to be like my speed dice plus the actual dice on
Whatever
here.
you're covering.
Yeah, like, it made it so insanely simple. Like, I was like, oh, okay, that makes complete sense. It's more risky the harder turn I have here, you know?
It's... Sam Mitchke did the design and development on a lot of this. I've been involved, but a lot of that was his idea, because we used to have a 2-piece, almost like a slide rule, like 2-piece with a rivet in the middle, and
yeah.
When we came to it, it was discovered that, like, well, we could really just go to this piece.
Right.
And that offers us almost all the tools we need, because
it really does.
This is used for range rerolls. It's car lengths. You can use it for the slide maneuver as well as the forward.
And the slide maneuver is so cool, guys. So if you wanted to slide your car around, you're not guessing or anything. You're just putting it right under here, and this has little lines on it. Hopefully you guys can see. Oh, here, we'll put it under here. This has little lines on it here, and you're going to put your car actually right up to where the lines are, and then you can slide your car along until it stops, and then that's a slide movement. Like, it was so easy to figure that out. It was
the least risky of the maneuvers, and it doesn't take too much to learn the basics. We, as a key point of design, we wanted to look at what Car Wars initially was and make sure that we made the difficult things from before easy.
Right.
But Car Wars has a great history. It's got a lot of information, but it was overwhelming to a lot of people. And I would go online and search what problems are you having with your players.
Oh.
And the questions that came up were collisions. How do I resolve these things?
A lot of, okay, this is going to come before this, and Like, if you get too many of those things in there, it kind of turns people off, you know? It becomes, not everybody in the board game community wants to play a miniature game. And it was more a miniature style game where you had lots of those little rules, you know? And this turns it into a much more fluid, like, almost like a gateway to a miniature game. Because you could play this, and then you could go into other miniature games and have a little bit more of an idea of how they work with something like this. Like, these cards here, there's no art, of course, obviously, guys, on these because they're not done yet, okay? But, I mean, the points are super easy on them. This is going to be like a damage style point over here, and then here's going to be your build points and everything. And then the dice that you're going to use for these are going to be on the cards, too, like right here.
We've spent a lot of time thinking about the design of these and the layout to make sure that they were as friendly to learn and to know. Especially, I worry about colorblind people often when we're designing this.
Right.
So you'll notice that when you're looking at the dice on the side of those weapon cards, the yellow die is always in the same slot. So if you were a yellow something colorblind,
you would know.
You
okay,
would know
it's always
the
in
top
this
one
spot.
is always there, and the corners, crew points versus build points, they're colored differently, but they're also in different corners of the card.
That's fantastic.
So you could know, well, this is fanned out slightly different. It's something else.
Right.
As well as the words are written. We've taken a lot of time for it. The writing is small because the cards are small.
Right.
But they're all relatively simple as well. Iconography is as simple and straightforward as we can. We only have 3 symbols that you would have to even go to the book for once you know the fire symbol, the explosion symbol, and the tire damage symbol.
Right.
Any other symbol is something you see on a die or very straightforward something.
Well, and I kind of liked how you guys used those symbols over for different things. So, like, on this card here with the flamethrower, that symbol is going to be, okay, you're going to set the other person's car on fire, but that could mean, oh, okay, in another roll, it could be somebody's tires get shredded, you know, and then they're going to lose their tires as they go along. So I really liked that too, because you kind of took out, if I had like 15 or 20 different icons to go ahead and memorize on what I was doing, that would be a lot more complicated than just going, hey, if I get this icon, it's going to be in addition to whatever damage I'm doing, or it's going to be a specialty thing to whatever card I have, you know?
Using the wrenches as a utility icon,
Yeah.
sometimes that utility is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We have several weapons where the wrench does nothing, but
Right.
that's because it doesn't list it on the card. When you're driving, when you're maneuvering, the wrench is a tire loss, and the shields, what would be defense when you're rolling defense, is a skid. So
Yeah.
those are bad when you're maneuvering. When you're defending, they're good. When you're attacking, they're nothing.
And I thought that was so cool.
With custom dice, to really get the most out of what we're putting in, the symbols will tend to mean something or be something you ignore as it goes through, even with the single and the double, making it as obvious as possible.
Right.
And we have tried for language independence as much as we can, but obviously with cards and some of the tokens, we're not really able to.
Right.
But even without knowing the name of that card, knowing the other things on it, you could play.
Right. And the control panel is so easy to go through and find everything. On the outsides, it's going to show you, all right, here's the armor. And then on the insides is all of your speed and your little power cell and your tires and stuff. And it's like when you get attacked, everything just goes in on that, you know? It's like, okay, well, first I look on the outside. Can my cards protect me? Can my armor protect me? Okay, if we get through that, then we're going in the middle. And then we actually resolve with a card after that. And if I have 3 extra damage, you just go down the card and you go, okay, well, I can take 1 here and the limit is 1, and I go down and I take the other 1 here and the limit's 2, and those will assign my other 2. And it made it so easy to resolve damage in this game.
It is.
Like, it just played so fast.
It's a hidden damage table.
Mm-hmm.
Car Wars and many other games from the era that Car Wars was born in used a damage table where you would roll a die or multiple dice,
Right.
and then pick where things were going to hit, and it would tell you this is really some variety, of where it will hit, so there's some suspense, there's some hope when you go to the damage deck.
Right.
And that's after you've ripped through the armor on the side of the car and you've ripped off pieces of structure and stuff.
Right.
To keep it, well, I don't know for sure what I got inside.
Yeah.
I don't know what's
you don't know what's going to happen next.
It's
and it made
bad,
it exciting,
but
though.
Could be correct.
Well, like, we were in a game, and our game, which was, like, ridiculous because it was a bunch of MIBs, you know, a bunch of the demonstration team that was playing. We were like, who are we going to set on fire next? So every time those damage cards came up, we're like, fire card, bring on the fire card, let's do this. And it just made everything so exciting, you know, whenever we were playing. Sorry, we're going to have announcements and stuff, guys. If you guys have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments right now, and we'll try to get them answered for you, okay? Now, this is going to go to Kickstarter, which I'm actually more excited that it's going to go to Kickstarter as opposed to, like, just going out there into the world, because I know that Kickstarter means we're going to get awesome stuff, hopefully, you know, like, hopefully upgraded cars, I don't know, you know, hopefully cool dice, like...
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
I have some things designed. It's all going to depend on where I say when I say it's Sam Mitchke and I.
Yeah.
And Steve Jackson and Phil Reed have also been involved in it for a lot of the approval stuff. We can't just make things. They have to approve what we've done.
Right.
But the cars are being designed and approved in CAD programs and things like that. You'll see these are 3D sculpts. They're interesting. They're different. We have more of these on the way. The cars will come off of these bases, so that I want to be yellow, but I don't want this car.
You don't like that car, and you're like, all right.
Come off the base, and you can put a different car on the base.
That's so cool.
Our plan is 4 expansion packs, relatively small, that contain a different car.
And you could choose your own car, guys.
They'll have
that would be
different
awesome.
dice and some cards in them. I have other dice designed. Those dice, different probabilities, different die faces, combinations of die faces you should already know will show up on those, and it allows us to make different weapons, different accessories, things like that.
That's awesome. I'm excited about that part. Like, that's one thing with Kickstarters. I review a lot of Kickstarters. I really love Kickstarter. And having the ability to go, okay, well, if we do really well on this Kickstarter, we're going to get X amount of different cars, and we're going to put extra funds into really cool stuff for the game. And I like the really cool stuff for the game. The other really cool thing about this is when you are targeting other cars, you can only target certain weapons from certain sides of the car that you're shooting from, because you do have on these, and it's probably hard to see because of the lighting, and then also the fact that these are clear.
Yeah.
But they have like little X's built out from the middle. So here would be your front arc here. Try to get it here. Here's going to be your front arc. So if you're using a weapon from your front arc, your person has to be in this area here, you know? If you're using a one from the side arc, the person has to be in this area here. So when I was playing, what I noticed was apparently I favored one side, and it really challenged me to maneuver around the board so I could use all of my weapons around my vehicle as opposed to just like doing the same sort of thing all the time.
One of the design concepts is to make sure you're driving and shooting and that it feels like Car Wars. It is not old Car Wars.
Right.
It is a different game.
Right.
But it has the feel of Car Wars. And our line of sight rules are functional and strategic and yet still versatile.
Yeah.
While being simple. The square, that little X of dotted lines, is not only where you can shoot, what weapons you can shoot, but it is also which side of other cars you'll be able to hit.
Right. And that's really cool too, yeah, because if you're aiming at somebody and you have 2 areas targeted, then you're like, oh, well, we're going to shoot over here, you know?
You've shown me your left side the whole game.
Right.
And I've torn it up.
Right.
And now you're trying to show me just the back of your car.
You do.
But I can still get at that left side because you didn't move far enough.
You didn't move further.
I outdrove you.
Right.
So...
And that made it lovely in that challenging aspect there. And let's see here, Brandon has a question. Some other games have handles handled collisions and spin out very abstractly with systems that don't really simulate a real collision. How will Car Wars 6th Edition handle collisions? That's a good question. Thank you.
There is I have about 8 fundamental concepts that we kept in mind when we were designing the game and developing the game, and one of them is funsics over physics. Physics is great, but once you try to actually simulate in reality, it gets very difficult and it can really lose you. And collisions were one of the biggest complaints from old Car Wars. In this version of Car Wars, if I had, as much as you can see here, if I had 3 movement points and this car was going to hit your car, I have 3 movement points remaining. I'm going speed 4, let us say. I could drive forward, and I would go 1.
Right, if you got a 4 o'clock Car Wars ticket, we need you to start now.
Sorry, guys.
You got a 4 o'clock Car Wars ticket.
I wonder how loud that is for them.
I don't know.
It's probably pretty loud.
But as you drive forward, even though I'm supposed to go all the way forward, as soon as I touch them, I lose the rest of this movement point. This is, for one, it's to stop things for this time slice. It's also to simulate the energy lost in a collision and to punish you a small amount for hitting something.
Yeah.
So although I have 3 movement points, I was in my second movement point, the rest of that movement point is gone.
Yeah.
I then would handle this collision, which is, I'm going speed 4, I would roll 4 yellow dice. However many damage symbols came up, I would take on the front of my car and blue would take on the right. And we would each lose a control token. Our drivers are finding it difficult to drive with a car inside of the vehicle.
Well, that makes things a tiny bit difficult, guys.
After that point, we had a lot of different ideas, and we tried a lot of things over time. What about those 2 remaining points? What about my speed? And what we found out and what we realized is we can handle this in a way that it makes sense to even a 6-year-old. And that was with the other 2 points. Now that I've done this collision, I'm going to just keep driving, and your car will be pushed wherever I wound up driving. If I stay in contact, it isn't a new collision. If you drive after, you may drive away, or the slides could allow you to move away and then shift back and hit me again. But as long as we are in contact, the game is about slices of time.
Yeah.
So this picture of this moment is we hit and our cars were kind of rubbing together, but the collision that happened is dealt with until we separate. It isn't true physics. True physics stops the game.
Well, I was going to say, you don't necessarily want to go through the whole physics of something when you're playing a game, because that isn't as exciting as
slow.
Doing this. Yeah, and it's slow. You get to this, you just roll the dice, you do the damage, which it does penalize you. I like that it penalizes you well, because hey, your car's taking damage.
There's a time to do it where you say, I can't get through with the weapons. I'm just going to run into you.
Right. Or you can get on side with the armor. Like you have armor and they don't, you know?
I have 8 armor on the front. You have nothing on your right side.
Right? I'm going to ram you.
But it allowed us to do some of the physics. A car would move another car in an unexpected way.
Absolutely.
A car would push, but it took away a lot of the physics that just made everything stop.
Yeah.
It made, I have to go to the rule books, I have to go to the internet. No, that's not fun. You have to know what you're doing next. One of the core precepts is vroom vroom pew pew. We need you to drive and we need you to shoot. You need to be driving and shooting. If you're doing other stuff, it's not as fun. Those 2 things are what you're here for.
That's exactly
it. It needs to keep flowing. It needs to be realistic-ish.
And I have to say that over all the miniature games that I've played, this was one of the most exciting ones for me to play, I think, because it did keep that level of tension on what people were doing and what damage was coming at you very, very high. You know, like, even though other people's turns were going off, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? You know, I was watching everybody's turn, what they were doing. I was trying to talk other people into attacking other people at the table. Like,
and that was,
it was really interesting.
That was a 4-player, it's a 4-player miniatures game, which you played.
Right.
If you had played in a 2-player game, it is very much more a duel.
Oh, I bet. A lot more on positioning and stuff, right?
In a 4-player game, there's almost always someone who could take a shot at you. And you can always play the field and try to say, look, you attack them, don't attack me. Oh, no,
right, right.
In a 2-player game...
Listen, guys, you got to convince people
in a 2-player
game,
it's you and I, and we're going to fight, and you're going to try to shoot me, but I see you didn't put any big guns on the back of your car. I'm going to do everything I can to stay in the rear arc of your vehicle. I'm going to outdrive you. And you can do it in a duel.
Absolutely.
In a 4-player melee, you can get to the point where you outdrive someone. Red's going to shoot me. I'm going to keep blue between myself and red.
Well, and with that 4-player game, it was like once people had taken damage, then it was like, oh crap. Like, okay, now I really have to focus on where I'm driving, what speed I'm going, where I'm staying behind people, and, you know, having people cut in front of me
Which
and stuff.
side
like
I'm exposing.
Exactly. So it was like, those first few rounds was like, we're gonna shoot each other and do all this stuff, and then by that 3rd round it's like, nah, people are getting set on fire. I no longer have armor in the front or on the left side. Like, I really need to focus, but it was still exciting, you know, like it was very nice.
Fire can be an inconvenience. It doesn't seem like it's strong until you can't deal with it, or multiple sides of your car are on fire. Then it's a real problem for you. It's a real threat to your existence. When it's just one little fire and you have plenty of control tokens to deal with it, it's nothing.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for answering that question for us. Yeah, Brandon says that after hearing that, like, he's super excited for being able to push the car like that. Like, he says it makes sense, and that's fantastic.
Also, the reason for this boat nose and the tail of it is so it's not completely predictable what's going to happen when I push this car.
Yeah.
We tried just flat rectangles, and what would happen is if you tried to do it, you auto push. You knew exactly where you were driving them.
Right.
With the rounded
with the little
noses,
rounded nose, yeah.
I don't know for sure where you're going to end up.
It could slide off either direction.
It could start going, and I can't do anything about it at that point. It has worked very well, and it's simulated collisions in a quick, efficient, easily managed way.
Right. Absolutely. This is fantastic. I really liked this game. This exceeded my expectations, guys.
We've gotten a lot of that from the old Car Wars fans, the ones who loved old Car Wars. Many are afraid, don't change the thing I love.
Right.
It is a different game, and most of, not all, that I've spoken to have said, oh, I love old Car Wars, but I don't get to play it. I can play this. Because I'll ask, I know that you love old Car Wars. How many times have you had it on the table in the last 15 years?
Right.
And many of them, 0.
Be like, oh,
no one wants to play with me.
It's an older game, and people don't want to play an older game with such complex rules right now because of where games are headed in just like a general direction of them being easier to go through and play in a few hours, or, you know?
And the person wants to play, but they can't get anybody else who does.
Yeah.
This can open it up, and maybe after playing this, someone says, I love it, but I wish there was more crunch. I wish it was deeper, and they can go, look,
I have it. Look at the other ones, right?
I've got it. Yes, fire can be a tad inconvenient. It gets a little worse. A lot of it is real bad.
Yeah, you end up taking a lot of damage because that's a cumulative thing. If you don't put it out at the end of, at the beginning of your round, right? Then it's like you sustain damage from that.
The way it works is you'll get set on fire in a round.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the next round, when you take your control tokens, it's time to decide whether you're going to spend them to put the fire out. Basically, your driver has to do this or this. And if you use up all your control tokens, then you go out of control, and now you're a sitting duck and you get chewed up.
Yeah.
And you can't maneuver.
Do anything. Yeah.
If you don't put out the fire, you're going to take. It's only 1 damage. I mean, I'll let it.
But 1 damage and then 1 damage.
But you have to deal with it again next turn.
It was so good. It was so good, and we had a gentleman down here that said he demos Car Wars all the time, right?
He's from a Seattle group, and he demos old Car Wars. He is one of the few who could say, I've had it on. Yeah. 12 times in the last year I've had it on the table, because he focuses. He does it. He does a great job showing people the game and sharing it. at conventions.
Right.
Many people don't go to 12 conventions a year.
Right. And he has played it non-stop since he's been here.
Yes.
I don't think I've seen him away from the table at all.
It is
like
what
the entire
he-
convention.
He came here to play Car Wars, and he did.
Yeah, and he has like several stand-up moments where, like, I mean, the table erupted and stuff. Like, he's obviously enjoying himself with the new Car Wars.
There have been smiles.
Right.
None of those tables were. It was many people. This is Fnord Con. There are
Right.
plenty of old Car Wars fans
Oh
here.
yeah, absolutely.
When 4 of them sat at the table and started playing, I didn't see unhappy people around that table. That was something I was afraid of. Is
Especially someone so in depth into the old
maybe
version,
we have misread
right?
them. Maybe we don't know. But seeing them come and play and enjoy what they were doing and really love it, and many said, look, it isn't old Car Wars, but I'm going to get
Right.
involved in the Kickstarter. I'm going to do
Absolutely.
it when it happens, and it should happen, barring unforeseen circumstances. The Kickstarter should occur this year.
Yes, and that'll be lovely. I'm really excited about it. And if it does happen this year, then, you know, releasing the following year once it's gone out to backers and everything with that. So,
That is kind
like,
of
I'm excited to see the final art on this and everything. Let's see here. We have, hi everyone. It looks pretty cool. I like that it looks like it's easy and a portable game. So,
Should be relatively. I mean,
yeah, I mean, you can play it pretty much on any surface with this, you know, right? With the way you have 'em.
Our general battlefield is a 3 foot by 3 foot square.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. You just need the space. Everyone needs to know what space they're battling in and have a good idea that it's fair. It shouldn't be an unfair space to fight in, but as long
Right.
as it's fair, okay, we could fight on it. You can fight in a much smaller one. You can fight in a much larger one. We have carefully designed the rules so that you don't have to do this. You can, well, my table is 2 by 6. Well, you could fight in that. That's great.
Are you guys gonna have like pre-constructed sort of cards? So like, okay, if you're new to it, you play with these cards like this, or you know, here's some different builds and stuff to get people started.
The plan, which may change, is to include in the with the core set and with those core rules a quick start that is,
Okay.
here's the car you should all build. Build this car like this. Put your cars here on your surface. This is the basic rules for what you're about to do, so that the long rule book, which is long by short game rule book standards, but when it's a miniatures rule book, it should be
Super
short.
tiny comparatively, right?
It should be 18 pages front and back with big drawings and things
Yeah.
like that, which is a lot of pages, but it's everything.
Well, although you're saying it's like an 18-page rule book, it did not seem like the instruction that you gave us was that long. I mean, it really was quite simple going through.
It is far easier to talk to someone, to tell
About
them how
it.
to do it. I can do it in less than an hour.
Yeah.
I can do it in 10 minutes to give you the overview, and when you're playing, you saw by the end of the 2-hour session,
Yeah.
those people knew how to play.
Oh yeah. Well, not even. It was. I felt like after the first round, we all knew what we were doing, and then
Yes.
when we played the second round, there were like a minor question here and there, and then after that, it was like, all right, we know how to play, and then
Anyone who played the first day only needed to be showed how to build cars.
yeah,
And there are corner cases, things I didn't tell them because it would just confuse many of the people.
right.
So I didn't bring up a lot of stuff. The
Well, like-
literal corner case, what happens when you get stuck in a corner.
Yeah, I was just gonna say something like the corners or the walls or something like that, which doesn't happen very often, or does it happen all the time? Like,
Today, I saw people deliberately pushing others into walls, but it didn't happen accidentally. It was in a 3 foot by 3 foot space with 4 people. It was easy to not do,
yeah,
but it can happen.
Yeah.
And we were
Well,
ready.
absolutely.
It's not that difficult. It was just one thing I didn't need to tell everyone. They didn't need it today, and it was another 2 minutes where they could have been playing. I wanted them playing.
right. And you wanted them to be enjoying the game
And I say
in
2
the
minutes.
area.
It's
yeah.
less than a minute to tell you, here's what happens on the wall.
Right, and I think after understanding the base portion of the game and then learning these other rules, they just make sense. You're like,
It's-
oh, okay, like it was easy to incorporate that sort of thing because we didn't learn about
Right.
the wall stuff until like the end of the game, and I was like, oh wait, there's other stuff.
Well, a wall is just an extension. If you know how collisions work,
Yeah,
you know why a wall is different
Right.
and how it's different, but you know how it's the same too. And because those pieces all fit together, it is easy to remember. And
Right.
that's part of the goal, is to build this wonderful skeleton where everything kind of ties together and is easy for people to know and use.
So we have somebody that's saying, will there be a new Uncle Al's?
I do not control that.
We don't know.
I need to get the game out on the table. I don't know about a new Uncle Al's. I
Okay.
would assume over time someone will. The wonderful part and the difference between 1980 something and 2019 is that people have so much more connectivity with other people of shared interests that even if we didn't do an Uncle Al's,
Somebody else
somebody
is
will
going
do this,
to.
and whether we can say, "Don't stop it, that's our proprietary stuff." That idea will come up, and it will be very natural.
Probably, absolutely. And Vincent says that sounds great as a new corner. I'm guessing cornerstone to
newcomer.
a newcomer.
Your font is a nightmare.
I apologize. That's not my font. That's the program's font.
As a newcomer to the game, nice. It is exceptionally friendly. If you have a friend who knows how to play Car Wars, you will know how to play Car Wars. It isn't difficult to teach, and it isn't difficult to do. And I have done all I can to make sure you don't have to keep going to the rule book.
Well, and even then, out of all the miniature games that I've played, I would almost bring people to something like this first, just because, one, it's a lot of excitement. Two, they only have to mess with one unit. This is it.
You have one unit.
That's
not
it.
An army or
Right.
a platoon.
And then you're not trying to outfit an entire army of things.
It doesn't have
and
a Z-axis. You have to pretend around. You are
right.
If we ever did anything that it did have some more, there are plans. There's talk. Hey, I want a car gang. Hey, I want to be able to jump. We're not doing that right now.
Yeah.
But I built a system, Sam and I, and with the help of many other people, we know a system where we can make something fit into that system. It's just not there now.
Right.
But you don't have to worry about it with the core game you were going to get via Kickstarter.
This is the start. This is the start of things,
This
and
is
you
gonna
know,
teach you and get you there, and I'll give you advanced concepts when you want to pay for it. If you don't want to pay for it, if
you
it
love
isn't
just
popular,
the base game, and then you're like, all right, you know, we're good right here with just running around on the ground and shooting at
there'll
people and stuff.
be
Like,
ways
that's
to get.
fine.
I want different guns. I want different accessories. I need more structure armor on the side. I need this stuff.
Yeah, this was a really cool game. I was really happy to play this. This, like I said, it exceeded my expectations for anything.
It has been wildly popular this weekend.
So it says, can I still power my car with a Thundercat power plant like I did 30 years ago?
We haven't. You're not the only one to ask that. And Steve and Phil have both used those words. We don't have it built in yet.
Okay.
And it will not work like it did 30 years. Everything is different. You only have two currencies, really. You have build points or crew points.
Right.
And so your weight, your cost, your size, all of those are condensed down into the simplified one build point for your car stuff. But the Thundercat power plant, I know what we want to do. It is, what can we accomplish with it?
Okay.
What can we do? We have plans. We have talked about it. Nothing has been tested.
Okay. But it's nice that you guys are looking at those things that people are talking about, and they're like, okay, well, let's start thinking now on how we could possibly incorporate this into the game if this game is very successful and people love playing it and stuff. Because one thing that Steve Jackson does is that if a game is very successful and people love it, they're going to keep adding stuff to it. Like, you're going to get expansions, you're going to get new stuff, new cars. Like, I mean, it's just a matter, though, of making sure that you guys like playing it first, you know?
Sam and I don't do the sculpts. There's an outside individual. I wish I had his name at the top of my mental list here.
Yeah.
He's done the sculpts. We approve them. We disapprove them. We argue with that individual. A good collaborative effort, because someone needs to say yes and no and
well, absolutely.
And more.
And that's really important. You know, you need to bounce ideas back and forth off of people rather than just...
But they're out there, those cards.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the ones that I can't show you. There's interesting stuff. And again, these are not final. I know there were changes. This was disapproved, and there were changes to this. It looks similar, but it isn't.
Exact.
That type of car isn't exactly that.
Yeah, these guys, these are all
Everything
the final prototype pieces. Yeah, these are not final pieces yet. Okay, but
it will look similar. I mean, these dice are stickers on cubes.
Right,
so.
exactly. So like, they have this sort of shapes on them that you're gonna use, right? But you know,
the die faces are set. I know that that's gonna be like that. I just don't have any from the factory dice yet. I also know of other dice that are coming in the future.
Oh, that's exciting.
And the things I'm doing with those dice.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I try to be the math guy to keep my head around that stuff, and we're doing fun things. I know at some point I've made a mistake. People are going to find it. We'll see. We'll see what it is.
Yeah. And, you know, HC Holding says, yeah, the upgrading and modifying cars, guns, motors, and systems is one of the most satisfying parts. You're still going to be able to modify your cars to make them a unique car, you know?
Your car is unique where you put it. That stuff is what people really loved from old Car Wars. It's one of the things they're like, yeah, I'd take 2 hours and I would totally min-max a car. You can. But it's simpler now and there are less options.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't take you 2 hours, and as we add more and more cards to it, you'll have more options.
Absolutely.
And the larger the game, obviously, there's more things you can put on. That I've been talked to about from several people, old Car Wars players, they're like, I loved building the cars. That is a solo activity for a lot of people, and that was a solo activity for them. And people are much more connected now, so that time is usually spent playing the game instead of building now.
Well, and I have another question for you. And you may not be able to answer this, but what about like tournament style play after this is released?
So my personal philosophy on that is if I build a good enough game, I've given tournament organizers everything they need to fairly and easily judge. I've given you all the rules that say there is no tie here. Here's who would win.
Okay.
Here's how this works.
So the rules are built around that.
If your tournament says I want a massive brawl, then that's your tournament. But
that would be crazy.
I've tried to put in all the tools to make that possible for you. If you say I want to do two-person tournaments, we have tried to keep the time down to a half hour per player.
Okay.
But that is assuming you know what you're doing.
Right.
And sometimes good players can defend themselves and hold out for long
periods. Yeah, because of maneuverability and stuff and knowing how far you can push things and stuff.
We know tournaments will happen.
Right.
I'm not going to design a tournament because every tournament could be different. If an organized play pops up, organized play program pops up, which it likely will, we may be involved in that. But step one is get it out the door, get it in the fans' hands, things like that before I start worrying about the tournament structure.
In Rice, hopefully I pronounced your name correctly, says, you were saying how easy this game is. Why? Does it have less options? And I'm going to say no. Like, you were able to do pretty much everything you want to do, though. You're able to drive, you're able to hit people, you're able to shoot at people, like... There
was a lot more detail.
Okay.
The reason it is easier...
Well, but details and options are different. Because, like, an option is like, do I want to head in this direction?
Do I want a machine gun that takes 1 space and burns this ammo and costs this much versus a machine gun that takes 2 space and burns this ammo and does this? Those options have been far simplified.
Right.
For the most part, there is no ammunition.
Right.
That has been simplified because that's one more thing to track. Well, driving is
and I think too
simplified.
I think too that like almost taking that out is almost better because you're kind of limiting your fun that way. I know, like, it's more strategic.
Some people loved it. It was the fun for some people. Like, that game still exists. Car Wars we didn't throw it in a black hole and it's gone. It's still out there. You can still go
play the old Car Wars, but the new Car Wars.
This is easier to grasp. Easier to remember. Quicker and easier to build.
Very easy
for
to pick
most
up.
people.
Very easy to pick up.
And it's there in the tool. This turning key is the tool. This is the tool you're using rather than something else more complicated. The dice, you're not doing a lot of math. It's rolls and simple counting.
Right.
The yellow die is this. I need 6 yellow dice and 2 green dice and a red die or whatever. Those are large numbers. You wouldn't roll that many usually.
Well, and it's like your speed. You know, your speed accounts for how many defensive dice you're going to roll, plus whatever length you are possibly away from somebody. You might get an extra dice on that. But
you'll get rerolls.
Or I'm sorry, rerolls. You're right, an extra reroll. But that it just made it easy. You know. That portion of it.
Yes.
And then your speed also accounted for how far you're gonna go, and like you guys kind of just doubled a lot of things. Like this counts for this, and this dice here counts for setting people on fire, as well as shredding tires in different situations. Yeah, in different situations. Who wants easier? You know what? The majority of younger people who are playing games wants it easier, but like Randy said, if you enjoy the old Car Wars, there's nothing that says that you're not allowed to play the old Car Wars, guys. Like,
I think you're gonna
totally go back and play that one whenever you want.
I think you're gonna find this as a stepping stone for some people who want to try a miniatures game,
right?
But aren't ready for an old Car Wars style build and heavy math,
right?
I think you're gonna find those people after they play this who are just like you, who like I want something heavier. I want something with more crunch. This is going to be the end all for some people, but a gateway step for others. And
I really think that's the cool part of it, is that if you find a group of people that love to play this game and they are looking for something more, you can go, hey, well, there's this older version that is a little bit more complicated and has some other really cool rules with it. Like, why don't you try this one? And it's a perfect gateway to that, you know? Like, and then they have a little bit of an idea of like, okay, we're the theme of the game and stuff like that, what you're trying to accomplish in the game, you know, as far as maneuverability through it, you know?
And if that gets an old copy of Car Wars on the table again, great.
Right?
If you can't, at least you have something where someone knows before you spend the hours teaching them, like, well, it's not really what I'm after. Well, it was going to be more of this. Whoa, no, then it's not. Or, yeah, I want more of this part. Or,
right.
I've got what to show you. Feel it out. See what you can get people to play. Getting people together to play a game is really what we're about.
Right.
Come, try this.
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
Fun with this.
So you guys are going to be doing this at Gen Con Origins and stuff? Are you guys going to be showing off Star Wars?
I can't imagine that we wouldn't be showing.
Okay, I was going to say, I thought that we were going to at least show people in.
I don't believe I will be at Origins unless something changes.
Okay.
And it depends on, I haven't looked at when Gen Con is this year.
Okay.
My schedule may not permit me to go to Gen Con, but at many events I am there. If your local retailer goes to trade shows, they will see me at many of those shows.
Okay. Okay.
And I do go to the conventions that I can get to. The PAX Unplugged, PAX East, when we could. I don't know what's on the schedule for this year, but...
Well, if any of you guys are interested in checking this out, and you are going to a convention, just make sure to stop by and see if Steve Jackson is there, and that if they have this available to look at or to play, you know? Because I do know that they're going to Origins, they're going to Gen Con this year. I think they'll probably end up going to PAX Unplugged for sure. And I can't imagine why they wouldn't bring the pieces to at least show people stuff, you know?
It's about the individuals we send, and it's, as I said, it's easy enough to show someone how to play this. So if I know that I'm not going and no one who knows how to play is going, I can still train someone who is going.
Absolutely.
On those questions, on those...
Absolutely.
In 2 hours.
Well, I know I'm going, and I've learned, so I can always at least maybe walk somebody through some of it.
Show most of it,
exactly.
Given the time for it.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, guys. I appreciate all the comments and everything. We're down here at Fnord Con right now. I was so excited to show you guys this. I was super excited to play this. I had an amazing time playing it. Like,
I'm glad.
Yeah.
Most did. I didn't hear anyone who was really upset.
This is going to be the miniature game, or the miniature style game, that I'm going to show to people before I show them any other miniature game, really, because of just the ease of having one vehicle and then having them play in like a predetermined, okay, these are the cards, and then slowly building them up from there and going, okay, now you get to build your own, and then going, okay, well, now how about you try this? And it's going to be an excellent gateway for me to introduce to
Once
people.
you unleash them on building their own, they're going to figure out what they want to try.
Right?
Let's do a larger game. Let's do more points, or let's try a really
and it's just going to go and go and go, right?
It is infinitely.
This is how you hook
replayable.
people, guys. You hook them like little things like this, and then you're like, all right, now we're going to open up your whole world to other games, okay?
Here's the fun.
That's right. And it was such high amounts of fun, and just like, I don't know, I can't explain it. I really enjoyed playing it, you know.
I'm glad.
It was very cool. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you guys for joining us today and taking a look at everything. You can also leave your comments in the comments section, and hopefully we can have Randy or somebody go back, or I can ask Randy or somebody else and try to answer all of your guys' questions for you. And I will have pictures online also of the control board.
It would be called the dashboard.
The dashboard. I will have pictures of that online, okay?
They are seeing some wear and tear as a prototype this weekend.
They are. And I will have pictures of all of these guys, very detailed. Actually, I think I have one on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter that I left already, where you can see the fine details of the actual little ruler here, and, you know, one of the cars, the dice, and stuff like that. Yeah. So you guys can go over to any of those platforms and check that out as well. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you guys probably on Thursday of next week, because I'm tired, guys. Like, it's been a long weekend for me. So
In a couple of days.
I know, right? So we'll talk to you guys later.